Hello everybody and welcome to Cause and Effect, a show about VTES. Sorry for the mishap just now. We lost a bit of sound on Pascal, but we have it all figured out right now. So we're gonna continue like nothing happened in this part 2.5 or whatever you like to call it. So anyways, if you have missed other parts, of course check them out first, especially now because we're going to start like directly, almost in a sentence. Anyway, Pascal, you were talking about the crypt and the importance of the superior aspects. Take it away.
Well, the thing is, you can have the crypt allows you to have superior aspects. Like just 4 of them don't have it, so it's affordable to have superior aspects on almost all of my guys. And the only card requiring a discipline that costs blood is telepathic misdirection, and I don't want to run out of blood on my vampires, so I just want 2 of them to have spare aspects in play, and then I can play with the inferior aspects guys.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. I agree with you that superior aspects is very, very good. I actually think that inferior aspects is an inferior discipline, but just leaving that aside, only having 4 unique vampires, 6 copies, half the crypt, superior aspects, and Victoria also being very important for the pool game, only having 2 copies of her. What was your thought process when you chose for this low amount of superior aspects and low amount of Victoria?
I didn't really want to focus on Victoria. I mean, she's okay. She adds 2 pool during my master phase, which is really good. But if something goes wrong, like if someone burns the Madness Network, which is something that players should do in the game, she's useless, and she costs an extra 2 or 3 pool.
Yeah.
So I was afraid of a deck that could deal with my deck, and decided to burn the Madness Network.
You use 2 Anarch Converts, and you only have 1 Anarch Revolt.
There's Constant Revolution too.
Yeah, of course, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. What was the reasoning there? Because Constant Revolution being unique and Anarch Revolt not being unique. I'd probably go the other way around.
We take those cards up on them.
Sure. The thing is, Anarch Revolt is a master. I don't have very many master slots in this deck. 14 was a maximum. There's like 2 trifles, so I have 12 real masters in this deck.
You could play all these cards in 12 turns.
Well, including 2 Smiling Jacks if someone happens to burn it.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go to 15 master cards.
Okay. Do you see any issues with Constant Revolution? Because at times when I play it, I feel that it endangers a timeout, because people start their interface by choosing how much or whether or not to discard cards from their hand at random. And this choice always takes a lot of time, and all the other 4 players every single turn needs to make this choice. Do you have any issues with that?
I use that allure. When I play it, I just say, if you want to burn it, you can burn it. And people start focusing on it rather than on the important cards of the deck, like Smiling Jack, Madness Network, Pentex, Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a card that it does 1 damage to a prey at 1 stealth. It's better than a bleed. And if your prey decides to burn it, they lose 1 action on it. And if you say you can burn it during your turn, that's okay. They lose 1 action. They use it on something not very important. It's really allure.
Okay.
And so it's like in the plethora of cards that can be removed as an action, this one just distracts players.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a great point.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about your masters. You said you had a really tight master package, like you didn't want to bring out another Anarch Revolt. What were your thoughts about which masters do you think that you really, really need?
well, I really, really need the Madness Network. I really, really need the Smiling Jack. It helped me a lot during the finals. Then the Pentex also is very important. Since I'm playing a Winnie deck, if there's a big vampire facing me, I can deal with it with one card. I should play it. Anarch Revolt is important, but not that important. Vessels are here mainly to burn block dolls, I must say. Because if someone is playing just forward deck with a block doll, I'm never going to catch him, and just removing the block doll is removing pool gain.
Okay.
So yeah, if I had to remove one or two masters in there, there would be Curry Montreal and the Anarch Revolt.
Okay. Do you think there's still a big danger of facing blood dolls? I can only talk for this year's EC meta and the Swedish meta, but I don't see a lot of blood dolls at all.
Yeah, maybe this deck should evolve into something with less vessels. I really need two of them. Third one is optional. It's just against blood dolls.
Okay. Where do you need two vessels?
Rack.
Yeah. Another way of gaining the two pools each turn, except for Victoria, or even with Victoria.
Yeah.
So, when you put out, how many cards do you have on the table that you need to defend when you have geared up?
Well, the question, I just play them, and then the other players decide which cards must go. So the most important one is the Madness Network. It's pool gain. Second most important is Smiling Jack. If you can just defend these two, you win. Then you have the lure cards, Constant Revolution, Arantebes. These are lures. And then you have the optional cards that do something for you. Anarch Revolt and as Constant Revolution, Anarch Revolt and Pentex.
Okay. Since you state that Pentex is an important card, because when facing big caps, you gain a lot of playing Pentex on them. Why don't you play two Pentexes? One for the earlier game and one for the heads up or the later game?
Good question. Maybe one of the vessels should become a Pentex.
Okay. Cool.
What's your, how do you play the deck? From, which vampire do you move up first, and what's the tactics of winning? How do you play it?
Depending on if I have the Madness Network in my first hand, I try to have a Malkavian turn one. This is the major key on first vampire out. So if I don't have it, I can start influencing on Victoria or Isabel. If I have it, I need the Malkavian. So there are 2 caps, 3 caps, 4 caps in there. Just bring this one up. And then on the next turn, play Madness Network and bring up a new Malkavian. And then your stuff. The non-Malkavian guys, Isabel, Dieter, and Franciscus, are spoiled vampires.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you mentioned that you bleed for one every turn. Is it important, or how do you win with the deck?
Yeah, the major action in this deck is the bleed for one. It's how you oust players. It's true for many decks, and especially this one. If the players are afraid of something, then it's okay to bleed for one. If they're afraid of Smiling Jack and they accept that you bleed them for one and they burn Smiling Jack, you say, okay, I bleed for one, and then you block the Smiling Jack action. But you need to bleed for one. Without this, you cannot balance the table so that your player will lose first on Smiling Jack.
Okay.
I want to ask you, I've been playing Auspex Weenies a lot actually in tournaments, or this iteration. I consider this as Auspex Weenies, the one with Madness Network and Victoria. I'm playing a lot in tournaments. And sometimes I do play with Uncoiling, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get really scared of, say, unmasking maybe, and especially on Celios. What was your reasoning behind the uncoiling, and what were you hoping to remove with it?
Anthelios is target number 1, and masking is number 2.
Okay. What cards do you fear that will be recycled with Anthelios?
Well, by then it was minion tap.
Okay.
And,
basically, pool gain?
Yeah, pool gain. Yeah.
Okay. Because I think the obvious biggest drawback is the only drawback with uncoiling. That is, you remove your hand size. You go down to hand size of 6. And I think that's the biggest issue. As long as I play these kinds of deck, I have a very hard time getting any goodwill from other players to make them agree to remove the uncoiling to get the hand size back to 7. When you played this in Palma, did you ever play the uncoiling, or did you just end up discarding it?
I think I played it once, but I'm not sure. To burn maybe Ralph's unmasking. I think. I can't remember. Yeah, the third card that is dangerous would be Dragonbound.
Yeah, since you play Weenies.
Yeah.
I have a question about like your actions. Smiling Jack normally is a big part of Smiling Jack is to block your prey and try and knock off some blood to make him have to pay pool for it earlier, or die to faster. Do you block prey a lot with this deck and shoot them, or do you just use reaction cards defensively to stay alive?
I think my way of playing is you should not block actions that don't oust players, but that reduce their pool or blood amount. So I'm not blocking a Bleed with Goblin with Eagle Sight. However, I am blocking installation cards like Superior Goblin. I'm not blocking Kine, I'm blocking Political Stranglehold.
Right.
So basically everything that adds pool or blood to the table needs to get blocked, and everything that removes blood or pool is okay.
Yes.
And this is because time is of the essence when you play a block deck, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you time any of the tables you played, or did you manage to get them all to a standard game win, so to speak?
Let me think. I won the first table with a game win 4, and I think you, Isaac, got a game win, or your GT maybe was your Predator, can't remember. Second table, second table was I withdrew, or there was a deal with my Frey, and I won the third table, so no timeout.
Okay. Was it close?
Maybe the second table was close to the timeout, but not the first one, because we had this Legacy of Panda deck, which had the table go fast and amok, and was out in less than an hour and a half. Can't remember second table, and third table was, 1 hour and a half, I think. And the finals was 55 minutes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a question about the Model Vampire Hunter and Ossian. Are you able to get them out? And how do you use them? Do you use them, as Isaac pointed out earlier, to punish your prey, so you have to use Smiling Jack on his pool, or is it backwards to stay alive?
No. I think there was no game in which I had them out, but when I use them, it's usually when Smiling Jack has hit the table, and I try to control the blood on my prey vampires.
Okay.
It's not punishment against my Predator. For this, I have blocking. I block.
I'd like to talk about aura reading.
Mm-hmm.
This is my reasoning with aura reading in this deck, because you have 3 allies, you have 3 actions, you have 14 marks, so that's 20 permanents, and then you have 5 equipments, so 25 permanents, and then Mr. Williams stop and coin, then 27. All of these have a risk of clogging your hand when you're out of your turn, when you actually need reaction cards. And my reasoning is to always, with no exceptions, play aura reading superior to cycle your hand. How do you reason when you play the aura reading?
I think I played one in the finals and it was superior. Helped me get to the Anarch Revolt, which was my prayer, my Grand Prayer, and my last opponent. It's good at inferior, but with this deck, I usually have untapped vampires. Aura reading really tells you if you should block with a Wake or with an untapped guy. This is my reasoning behind it. So since with this guy I usually have lots of untapped vampires, I don't really need to play it at inferior because I know that I can block with one of my untapped guys later. So just always play it at superior.
Okay. So what does it do on inferior?
Inferior is you look at the opponent's hand.
Yeah. Okay. Just putting it out there. Anyway, so of course, how essential is it like gearing up? Because I see that you just have one disguised weapon. How do you get your equipment?
The old-fashioned way. I equip with an action. I think during the finals, I tricked. I think it was my Predator. I equipped with a sniper rifle. He blocked. I disguised a magnum and shoot him, which was fun.
Yeah, that's real.
Why only one disguised weapon? Disguised weapon and concealed weapon feels like two kind of cards that you either play with or you don't. You follow me? Either you need to not get blocked, or you will get blocked, and then you need them to be able to play them. You follow?
I only have 4 weapons in there, so I wouldn't play more than 3 disguised weapons. And since I have untapped guys who can act during my Predator's turn if I have the edge, I don't need that many concealed and disguised with fake action cards. However, I need it in the case of a block, which is what happened in the finals. So I just put one in there, and one instead of concealed weapon, because if I really need the ivory bow, I want it.
Yeah. 7 Eagle Sight does seem a bit excessive. Could you elaborate on that?
It is really excessive. I agree. 5 is the maximum you could use in a deck. However, I think I discarded one in the finals, and the breakpoint in the finals was when Michael almost ousted
Karen?
Yeah. And Karin was asking me to eagle side this bleed for 3. And Martin decided that I should not eagle side it, and offered me basically the game win on this not playing the card, which I had in my hand, but I decided not to play it. So the point is, other players should feel confident in the fact they have one, and if needed, I'm going to play 1 or 2 on random actions, just so that they know that I have one, and they could offer me something in exchange. If I don't play anything, they cannot assume I have any in my hand. If I play 1 or 2 for Incept, they can assume I have some in my hand.
Okay, so if you play an Eagle Sight inferior, do you make them think that you have so many that you can afford wasting them, for instance?
Well, not wasting, just I have many. So if they need one, I have one, but they need to offer me something.
The point is that you will normally need to have intercept cards that give you intercept anyway, so they might as well be Eagle Sights, because that allows you to make deals.
Yes.
Something like that.
It's really psychological. It's really thinking one step further than how many you actually need.
Yeah, it's smart.
It's very, very smart. It's very psychological.
Maybe too smart, because you might end up not being able to block an action because you don't have various Auspex cards.
Well, there is enhanced census and precognition.
Yeah, but
inferior minus enemy, inferior telepathic misdirection, inferior isovargus.
You should be alright.
Yeah, but I mean, in the finals, the argumentation was Caroline offered me to play something if I did play the eagle side, and Martin offered me to play something if I did not play the eagle side. So even if I didn't have any Auspex card in my hand, Martin did offer me something for not blocking.
Yeah,
So either way, you're like ending up on top just because you showed the eagle sight.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Quickly, maneuvers in this deck. You pointed out during the break that it was really important. Why?
Yeah. So the thing is, you bleed for 1, and this is how you win the game. If you want your bleed for 1 not to be blocked, you need to get some assurance that what's going to happen if you're blocked is worse than what's going to happen if you're not blocked. Yeah. This is why I have 2 magnums and 1 sniper rifle rather than 1 magnum and 2 sniper rifles. In this deck, I act a lot. I would play 2 sniper rifles in a Winnie Specs deck and 1 magnum. Okay. So yeah, this is it.
So you basically use the magnum to, if they do block you, they lose 2 blood instead of 1 pool.
Yes.
And the maneuver is really important because you don't lose blood in that fight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. What should you do if you play against one of these decks? How do your mind work when you sit down at a table and, shit, my prey is a Weenie Auspex?
Well, you need to focus on what the key cards are. The key cards in this deck would be the minions with Spear Auspex. So if you're playing Bleed and Combat, you should rush the Spear Auspex guys first and then Bleed. This way the Bleed is not affected. And then if Smiling Jack hits the table, it should be target number 1. Everyone at the table should try to burn it. And all the tables should spend just 1 turn trying to burn it, doing nothing else than burn it. Once Smiling Jack is out, I mean, a player cannot have that many Smiling Jack in his deck. There's 2, there's 3 maximum. If it hits the table, just burn it. Everyone burns it. It's done. Then you burn Madness Network because, your crossable allies won't burn Madness Network, but your predator and your prey might consider burning it because it gives you pool and makes you stronger. Okay.
But you really need help from the table, or else you're fucked, right?
Well, yes. If your plan is just to oust this Mining Jack, you need someone to trust you.
Okay.
And this is where you say, I'm going to eagle side the bleed that oust you.
So playing against it is, I agree with that. Is the key move is to remove Smiling Jack.
Yes.
Because the amount of blood and or pool it burns for the other 4 players increases exponentially.
Yeah, it's insane. During the finals, my Smiling Jack burned a total of 55 pool from the whole table, which is more than a third of what we start with.
Because the whole table...
pool or blood, or just pool?
Yeah, it's pool or blood, but in the end, if you have a blood doll, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's only if you add blood to the game that it changes. Tastes like Vote Captivation or Giant's Blood or Little Blessing or something like that.
Yeah.
I think another important part is when you're facing an Auspex Weenie, you cannot give up. It's very... And I've seen this in the eyes of many opponents, the desperation, totally giving up, not giving the utmost. And that is one of the biggest strengths with Auspex Weenie. A lot of people don't get that it's actually very, very fragile because it's so difficult to play. You can't take a lot of combat, you have a few blood. You usually end a tournament or a game with very few blood left on the guys because you need to bounce and you take 1 damage during a combat because you didn't have a magnum of that particular vampire and stuff like that.
Yeah, the best predator for this deck would be a guy who's just on turn 3, say, sorry, I have no stealth, I'm going to play with you, like venture, vote, and then you win.
Yeah, exactly. And all they ask for is 2 VPs.
Yes.
Or withdrawal or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they agree, if they decide that they're going to lose because they cannot pass you, then they have lost already. If they try to pass you, then you're going to spend resources on them, and it's resources you don't spend on someone else.
Yeah. Like the prey or something like that.
Yeah.
Another thing I think is really important is try to remove stuff that is removable early on.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the stuff helps, the between the rack, the Montreal, the Pentix, the Madness Network, the Smiling Yak, the Constant Revolution, all of this stuff helps and like entrenches your position. So the earlier you can start removing that stuff, the better are your chances of actually as a table. And very often when you play against Authors Weenie, you have to have friends. And if you're sitting cross table, you have to help out. Not maybe 100%, but a few actions here and there, I think at least.
Yes. Pool is the last thing you should attack on a Weenie stacks. You should first target the things in play, vampires, masters and stuff, and then start really attacking the pool.
Okay.
There's also a consideration of that the Weenie Auspex, as time goes on, like if it hasn't been going well for the Weenie Auspex deck by the 1 hour mark, that deck will start risking more, tapping out every turn, and might even block prey more than what's safe, just because you kind of need to risk something to win at that point. So that's also something that you could keep in mind if you want to oust him, that eventually the Auspex Weenie will try to risk things and do more risky.
Yeah.
Risky business. Okay, I think we should have a look at our other example of an Auspex Weenie, Adam.
Right, I'll bring up.
Can you take it up and bring us in?
Yeah.
Yes.
What we're looking at is a deck by Eric Cousins.
We're in. Yeah, it's okay. Sorry.
Again, and this is it's a Urbu tournament. I don't remember when, but sometime during the last year. But it's also a deck that he's been playing for years, I think.
Yeah.
He played it in Prague. He's played it at the Swedish ECQ.
Okay. Yeah. So whatever. What is it, Adam?
It uses the reaction package is very, very similar to what Pascal played in his Malkavian one, but it uses Magic of the Smith to get equipment. Instead, that's the biggest difference, and it has some choices difference as well. I guess the Magic of the Smith is the biggest point of comparison if you want to compare it, and that's of course mainly for Heart of Initiatives.
And actually, when I talked to Eric after that he won the tournament with this deck, he stated that playing Magic of the Smith, the first thing you do for an ivory bow scares the living shit out of people. And with good reason, because if they're first, say an 8-cup, make a governed superior, and you block them with that ivory bow and torporize them, you just bought yourself a lot of time as an Authors Weenie. You haven't had a lot of capability.
And a lot of hate as well.
Yeah, but what could the other guys do?
Yeah,
so we have basically changed out the Malkavian aspect of the deck for thaumaturgy aspect of the deck.
Yeah. You also win Ponticulus, which is good.
Yeah, it's very good
against rushes, which is a big weakness.
Yeah.
But as Adam stated, or maybe if it was Anders, the Heart of Initiatus stuff is the second Magic of the Smith, is for Heart of Initiatus. And then all of a sudden, all these permanents, the masters, with the allies, the equipments, are not a big issue. You just put them down and always save your action cards to your hand.
Yeah, it's with this deck, you don't actually need to discard permanents. all the permanents will be played or attempt to be played at some point during the game, which is a big strength because then the setup is better, of course. You don't like when you need to discard a permanent in a deck without Heart Initiatives, you will have lost that permanent. You will never be able to play it again. And like this, I think it's a big strength of it that makes the setup a lot stronger. And it's possibly also the reason why you can make this 6-1 card deck.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason. Because you don't need to use, say, aura reading or something like that to be able to discard cards.
So, what's like the biggest cons in using this deck instead of the other one? Anyone?
If you look at the crypt, this crypt actually feels a lot better than the malkavian one because you have no duplicates and you have more superior aspects. So the actual vampires, talking discipline-wise, I think is better. Of course, the Madness Nectar Victoria special is very, very strong. It's awesome.
You have a lot less bloat in this deck, so that's a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. The crypt is better, but you don't use it for the same thing.
Exactly. Chantry could be worth mentioning. The getting out of Torp. Yeah, it's probably good. That is not a standard card.
No,
Chantry is really good in there. Chantry in particular means you can be rushed twice a turn without suffering anything.
Yeah. You just pay a pool, bring the guy back up, and particularly block the other rush. So, this deck would probably perform a lot better against the various Nana Baruku decks around nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, because animalism is like a big issue when playing Auschwitz Winner, right?
Yeah. Any combat deck is difficult to handle.
Yeah. Maybe you could handle some ally rush decks, maybe, depending on which design they're using, like Charming Hordes or something like that, without many combat cards. But anything else other than that, like a slam, and your main guy is in torpor, and it's game over.
So, Adam, which one of these decks do you prefer?
Well, I think I have to say the malkavian one, because that's the one I built. I played it during the Legendary Vampire. Or not exactly that one, but something that's derived from it. So I think the malkavian one is really good for the bloat. Like Madness Network gives you so many options. I haven't played this one, so I'm probably a bit biased. I would like to try it a lot. 61 card also Sweeney appeals to me. But the bloat is so useful, and Madness Network gives you so many options. I think I had to go with the malkavian one.
Yeah. Okay. So, Pascal, what's the most common action that you block?
Really interesting question. I think Govern Down is the #1 target.
Okay. Why is that?
It's usually you block the predator or prey doing this. If it's your prey, you reduce the number of acting minions, so you reduce the actions you'll have to block if you need to on their side. If it's your predator, it's really obvious. You don't want too many minions on your predator. And if it's your prey, you want them to spend pool rather than blood and actions on vampires. If your prey spends pool, that's okay. If your prey takes action but does not lose pool, that's not really good.
Okay. Isaac, what's the hardest thing about playing block?
That's a really good question. I think, and this is a bit of a hyperbole, but I think it serves its purpose, that if you're going to play a dedicated block deck, as these two decks we showed are, you have to know exactly how every other deck that you're facing works, the ins and outs of them. You have to know what are their key actions, which turn are their strengths. Is turn 6 for 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10? What is their end goal? what can you expect when it comes to combat, when it comes to stealth, when it comes to amount of bleed. So all of this, you have to have an insane understanding of the game, and a really big, and that's, I think, one of the most formidable feats, Pascal winning such a huge tournament with an Auspex winning, is that this actually is a receipt for knowledge of the game and other archetypes and what you can expect from them and what you need to block.
My own personal experience of block decks, it's that the most important thing is not what you block, it is what you not block. That's my words. Anyway, my phone is ringing, so someone ask someone else a question.
I will answer the question, like what's hard about the block deck. And like what Anders is saying, I think is like a really good point, because you actually there's no deck, well, there's no reasonable deck that will be able to block every single action from both prey and predator. So not blocking, and like actually not blocking and then talking about the player about it can make it seem like you're making a deal, like if I don't block this, you won't do this, and you won't need to waste cards and you'll still gain something from it. So it's a nice way of making, I wouldn't call it a deal, because it's not like a big thing. It's like a more of an understanding, or like a mini deal, or what you want to call it. You gain a little bit of benefit from not doing anything. That's like a really good way to play a block heavy deck.
As Pascal stated before with Eagle Sight as an example. Another thing I think should be worth mentioning is the laying tactics. At first, it kind of feel kind of counterintuitive to have the laying tactics in a block deck, because you just block them. But in my opinion, or experience at least, they're mostly used for cross-table actions. When people sit as your ground predator and they see an opportunity to get both you and their prey more or less at the same time, you need to have some reassurance that you won't get like 3 or 4 kind cross table.
Also, it's a last line of defense. In the same way that bounce is a last line of defense. If you have a stealth bleed predator, you want to block him as much as possible, play a lot of intercept, and if you fail to block him, you can bounce. And the lane tactic can work in the same way. Stealth bleed deck, try to block him and you fail. If he plays obfuscate both, you can play the lane tactics too.
Well, of course. So, anyone have any last words concerning Auspex Winnies?
I could say that for Auspex Winnies, as for any decks, especially small decks, Auspex Winnies like Eric's deck, you really need to know how many copies of each card you have in your deck. You need to play very fast, because the Auspex Winnies is a slow deck. You need to play fast, and you need to make any decision like block or not block very, very fast. You cannot talk for ages about it. And depending, and each decision should be taken depending on how many of each card you still have in your deck. If you know you have only 3 or 2 misdirection in your deck out of 20 cards, your decision is not going to be the same as if you had 4 left. So you need to take everything into consideration fast.
Well, that's a good analysis.
Yeah, it is.
Really.
So, you brought us, that kind of wraps that discussion up. You brought a challenge for our viewers, Pascal. What was it?
Yeah, so the challenge this time will be to build a deck based on Counterman, either base, advanced, or merged. And the deck could be anything. It could be vote, could be bleed, could be intercept, could be combat, could be really anything. And the target would be to use Count-German and not Mitra, who is the Count-German super Count-German version.
That's so true.
So Count-German.
It's up now, both the advanced and the base.
What does his specials do?
So we have 2 Count-Germans. Do we have them? Oh yeah, excellent. So the base Count-German is the vampire who, so he has exactly the same disciplines as Dimitra, which makes her a better choice than him. But anyways, VEKN German can enter. Minions opposing him cannot use weapons, which means no guns, and he can enter combat with toreadors as the action, which means basically VEKN German screws any unsung gun deck.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And advanced?
And the advanced version is slightly different. He's red list, which means you must have an option against combat sometimes. And he gets +2 bleed when beating a Methuselah who controls a title non-independent vampire. It's really a strong special ability.
Yeah.
It's sometimes almost a +2 bleed against your prey, which is really good.
Especially with the current meta, there's a lot of different inner circles and princes and just the course.
Yeah. So
and the merge.
And merge version is still red list. He's Anarch. He gets 1 press each combat, so it's really a combat version of the Counterman.
Yeah. Okay, well, any, ideas?
Yeah. Actually, I just came to think of it. Infamous Insurgent, the promo card, that is, you need to put that card on a red list Anarch Vampire. And as far as I know, this is the only one in the game. The merged Counterman is red list Anarch. And that is actually a very good card. Or at least decent. Adam is bringing out, you get to be Infernal, you get to be Bahari, you get 2 additional votes. But the most important part being obviously that once each minion phase, you may untap a ready Anarch. So you give him a permanent untap, basically, and 2 additional votes.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Nice option.
Adam, any ideas? Other?
Well, yeah, I think you need to work in the Anarch angle in some way, because he is too much alike Dimitra. So something that, something with the Anarch, possibly Chameleon and I don't know.
Chameleon? Isn't he a bit young to play Chameleon?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But you can, Rushes is good against big caps, and you can steal low caps, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's multi-acting, you can use Force March. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, there's a lot of ideas, and as Pascal mentioned, you can do a lot of different things with this vampire. So we're looking forward to getting your deck lists. This time we will have a few weeks on you for the challenge. We won't present it the next week as we did before. So we don't really know when the challenge is going to end, but we will let you know on internet before. So, anyway, this was our show for this week, and I would like to thank Pascal for coming. Real nice.
Well, thank you guys for inviting.
Yeah.
All ours.
Yeah, and I would like to thank my co-host as well.
Yeah, thank you.
And of course, you guys at home watching and commenting and making our show better. It's really nice to be able to do this once a week and get to talk about VTES with you guys. So it's nice that you watch, and we love you guys. So anyway, don't forget to send your decks that you want help with to our deck clinic. We will be doing our first version of that next week. So anyway, that's it for this time. Thanks everyone for watching, and remember, if you have any thoughts, comments, or ideas, you can post them on our Facebook page or send an email to the address below. That's causeampersandeffect@gmail.com. After the episode, we will post a thread on the VEKN.net, so you can continue the discussion there. So, yeah, that's it for this time. Goodbye and have a good week.
Thank you.
Bye.